Hey, what's up, everybody? And how's everybody doing? Well, today it's a Sunday, and it is 30th of August, and just one more day away from the end of August. Quite very quickly, it has come on to the last quarter of the year. And of course, at this point in time, it's quite interesting because what I've been looking at is what are some of the ways that we could actually corner this situation itself. And when I say corner this situation, it's because, as you probably know, we are all facing this COVID-19 situation, and some of us better prepared than others, and some of us, in a better position than others. And so we want to help everyone as much as we can in terms of where they're at and how they can take things to the next level. So that's part of the reason why I created this show, because I want to share with you about the mindset, skill set, and tool set of how you build a one person, 1 million all digital business. Now, the whole concept behind this is actually fairly simple because right now we are in this space where we have the knowledge, skills, and experience. However, how are we being able to monetize that? So, in the industrialized age, what we normally think of is how could I gain all those knowledge, skills, and experience and sell my services to the highest bidder. And in that case, of course, it's the employer. And so many of us were like actively looking for a job and to make sure that we are able to grow in that job itself. But now, in today's context, or just before COVID-19, I think many of us are looking at, hey, how am I able to use the internet to be able to leverage that platform to help me achieve a goal of what if I'm able to sell my services to a bigger pool of employers, and that includes people who are doing things like remote working, for example. And so, it has definitely created a lot of different work models. And then, of course, when COVID-19 came to the picture, it all started to change in a very rapid fashion because at that point in time, you had no choice but to embrace the idea of um, working remotely, working online. And if you're not able to feed whatever you're doing into that area itself, you are going to be caught because you are simply not able to respond fast enough. And I think interestingly, when I speak to some of the people that I know, um, I think I get a good percentage of them. One third of them is just waiting to ride out this situation. And they're just looking at, waiting for this period to be over, and then hopefully to kind of resume back to where they were before. Now, the second group of people are just completely looking at reinventing themselves and really looking at how they are able to emerge victorious at the end of this whole episode itself. And then, of course, you have a third category of people who are just opportunistic, leveraging their know how and their ability to create products and services that are clearly needed at this point in time. Like, for example, recently we started a project with let's just say, a very traditional industry looking at using live streaming. I mean, if not for COVID-19, people in this industry would have never thought of doing live streaming. But now, because of this, they had, I would say, no choice but to look at live streaming as a possibility itself. And so, with these three categories of people, I think the same thing that are on their mind, it's like, where do we go from here? And I think there are essentially two ways of approaching this whole scenario itself. One aspect of it is really to look at it and say that let's plan um, with fear at the back of our head, right? Like, we are afraid. And so we do not want to be caught in a situation that we go belly up. We do not want to go in a situation where we have to close down our operations. And so let's do the most sensible thing. And the most sensible thing in this respect is to cut costs. And of course, when you look at cutting costs, the most vulnerable ones would be people, right? Companies will be trimming their employees if they haven't already, because things like fixed assets, for example, it's there, and right now it's not the good time to get rid of some of these fixed assets. And so you really are kind of caught in a situation whereby you need to trim costs. And the best, I mean, I say best, but really what I meant is that the most convenient way for most employers to look at it's really to say that, well, let's let some people go. And if the economy does picks up, and if we do get back into um, the thick and thin of things, then we will be rehiring these people. So for these people, their main approach is really, the first order of business is really to reduce expenses. And I believe many households, that's what people are doing as well, because for some of us, we see that we might kind of lose our jobs, or we might face a situation whereby we have little to no income coming in. And so we better tighten our belts at this point in time, because we're not quite sure if we are able to keep up with the amount of business that's coming in. And so that becomes a question mark. Then, of course, the other way of approaching this, and this is my approach of the first order of business. I mean, if you ask me whether am I concerned about what's going to happen, of course I am, right? I think, like most people, I'm concerned about what's going to happen. I have no idea what's going to happen. What I do have an idea is things are not going to be the same now. And of course, coming up on September the 3rd, where we go into our 100th episode, I want to take some time in that 100th episode to talk about things that pertain to you. So, in the sense that I want to be able to kind of walk you through what are some of the analysis that I have come up with based on the research and the readings that I've been doing. And that's something that I really want to share with you. And that's coming up on September 3rd at 9:30 Singapore time, 9:30 p.m. Singapore time. And there will be a live show, of course. So, that's something that I will be doing on September 3rd. Now, back to our topic. If you ask me whether am I concerned, of course I'm concerned because I do not know what's going to happen, and I do not know if some of the things that I've been doing it's going to be sustainable moving forward. And so there is always that question, right? There is always that question. There is always that possibility. But that said, with every situation itself, there is also opportunity. And the opportunity right now it's to be able to leverage what are some of the resources that we have at our disposal. And so for me, the first order of business when I am facing a situation like this, of course, yes, I need to watch my expenses, but more importantly, I need to have my goals right. So I need to have my goals, I need to have my results that I want to achieve very, very clear. Now is not the time for us to be fuzzy about goals and objectives and key results. Now is the time for us to have a very clear idea where we're going and what are some of the outcomes that we want to achieve. Now, whether we're going to achieve those outcomes or not, it's going to depend on numerous factors, some of which are going to be within our control, and many are going to be outside of our control. So, what we can focus on, obviously, is to focus on the things that is within our control. Now, then the question is, what kind of goals do I set? Right? And what kind of goals do I set? I mean, if I do not know the landscape, the way things are gonna go, how do I even set my goals? And to answer that question, I think the way to deal with that is really to have a series of hypotheses. And what I mean by this is as follows. I mean, you and I um, have access to the same pieces of information. We know what the economy is doing. We know, in terms of what's going to happen in the political area, in the economic area, in the legal area, in the environmental area. We can't know where things are going. You and I have access to all the readings and materials and the research that are done by scholars as well as consultants, right? You and I have the same access to the pieces of information about human behavior and how people are responding to news, to products, to services, as an example. So in that sense, where we're starting from, we're starting from a place where it's information parity or to a large extent. In other words, what you have access to, I also have access to. Now, what's going to differentiate you from me or us from somebody else is the ability to be able to analyze this information and then to be able to distill out the insights from the analysis. So there is a two-part process. First, you must take the information, you got to analyze the information. Now, after you have analyzed the information, you have to look at what are the insights that you can gain from this information or from your analysis. So, obviously, if your analysis is better than mine, then likelihood your insights are going to be better than mine. And if your insight is going to be better than mine, then obviously your responses or your choices or your strategies are going to be much better fit than mine. And so the way that I have been doing this for the last couple of months was that I've been diligently going through the research reports and getting a better understanding of what's going on out there, in as much as I can, right? And what I'm doing is I'm doing an analysis of things, and of course, from my analysis, I've distilled out the insights, and that's what I'm going to be sharing with you on September 3rd. Now, once we have those insights, then we know what are some of the goals that we can set. And of course, we cannot know with certainty because right now we are operating in a situation where you and I do not have complete information. I mean, short of God, no one knows what's going to happen in the next 6 to 22 months. So let's not fake it and say that, well, I'm an expert, I'm a futurist kind of thing. But that said, I think some of us are able to analyze and to be able to make sense of what's going to happen. Now, to predict what's going to happen, and that's where our goal is going to lead us to. So, if I'm going to predict that, well, live streaming is going to be, a norm, because with 5G coming in, with people are getting more accepting towards using video, people are a bit more willing to accept the fact that we are definitely going to be doing more training online. And so if that's the direction that we're going to go, then obviously my goals are going to be in the area of live streaming. But if my predictions are going to be that I think people are still going to revert to the old mode of doing things. People are still going to expect that you come and see me. If I'm a client, I expect you to come and see me physically, right? Or if I'm attending a training, I expect you, the trainer, to be there physically. So whether that expectation is going to happen or not, no one knows. And so that's going to be another hypothesis. And with that hypothesis itself, of course, then we will need, or we will have a different set of goals, because my goal in that aspect itself is going to be very different. So on the 100th episode itself, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you the insights that I've gained, and what are some of the things that, what are some of the areas that we can look at. Now, obviously, I could keep this all to myself because, it's like, why should I share this with you? But I firmly believe in the concept of, it's going to be a situation whereby no one can possibly achieve this all on their own. And so we need a group of people, we need a community, we need an active group of people who are like-minded and who wants to go in the same direction. And that's where we're going. All right. And so with that itself, that's going to be the key um, thinking going forward in terms of what we're going to be doing in the 100th episode. And just to give you a sense of things, the 100th episode, it's really something that it's truly, I would say, um, something that is truly inspirational for me, because I I mean, to come to a 100th episode, and of course to have some of you to have followed me on literally every single episode. That is something that I do not take for granted, and and I always believe, like, my past experience of um, creating videos itself. Really, the whole idea is building your community, building your audience one person at a time. So, for those of you who are watching, I thank you so much. And I hope that you will be able to join me on September 3rd at 9:30 Singapore time. And that's where we're going to go into that special episode where I will talk about my plans for you. And with that, I thank you so much for watching. This is the Melvin Live Show, and this is a different mic, in case you're wondering. All right. And so with that, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye bye.